Imagine the impossible unfolding right before your eyes. Something so extraordinary you barely allow yourself to believe it, and yet it's happening. A man, once thought lost forever, now stands among us alive. But there's a catch. There's something wrong. Something deeply unsettling that whispers through the air, making the hairs on your neck rise. What happens when a figure of immense power and mystery crosses a final boundary between life and death, only to return changed, shadowed by an unknown darkness? This is not just a story of resurrection or hope. It's a tale of suspense, fear, and an unraveling reality that threatens to shake the very foundations of the world as we know it. Right now, you might be wondering, why should this matter to me? Why should you care about a man who defied death? And what could possibly be wrong with his return? I'm going to be honest with you. This story is far from ordinary. It touches on fears we all share deep down. The fear that even those we trust can change beyond recognition, that reality itself can become fragile and terrifying, and that sometimes the most powerful among us hide secrets too dangerous to be revealed. You came here for answers, and I'm here to deliver them. But I ask one thing. Stay with me till the end, because the truth you're about to hear is layered, complex, and more haunting than anything you've ever encountered before. What you're about to hear is not a rumor. It's not clickbait or speculation. It's a phenomenon unfolding now, beneath the surface of the world's headlines and social feeds, affecting people's lives in ways you might not yet realize. A world-famous man known for bending reality, for mastering the mystic arts, has returned from death itself, but he is not the hero everyone expected. His eyes hold secrets, and shadows cling to his every step. Those who encountered him firsthand speak of subtle shifts, altered realities, lingering darkness, inexplicable fear. The question that haunts everyone is this: what happened during the time he was gone? What forces might have touched him just beyond the veil? And how will the consequences ripple out, reaching even the lives of ordinary people like you and me? You might be feeling a mix of excitement, disbelief, curiosity, or even apprehension. Nothing is off limits here, and I want you to feel safe exploring these ideas with me. Because at its core, this story is not just about a man. It's about the fragility of identity, the battle between hope and despair, and the consequences of crossing lines once thought untouchable. It's about what happens when the threads between life and death weaken, and the cost that comes of trying to rewrite fate. This extraordinary event has already sparked countless conversations online, from viral videos to heated debates in forums. Yet no one has pieced it all together. Until now, as we pull back the curtain, you'll meet more than just a man brought back to life. You'll encounter the people who see the cracks in his armor, the ones whispering warnings in shadows, and those desperate to control the unfolding storm. You'll feel the tension rising in a world that's suddenly unsteady, where impossible choices must be made, and trust is a rare commodity. What starts as a miracle might just be the beginning of something far more dangerous. Now, let's get personal for a moment. Think about times in your own life when everything felt off, when people you knew changed in ways you couldn't explain, when reality twisted beyond recognition, or when a trusted friend suddenly felt like a stranger. That gut-wrenching feeling, the quiet dread that settles in your chest, is exactly the atmosphere surrounding this story. You, watching this video, might already be attuned to that same unease, sensing a shift in the world around you without quite being able to name why. This story speaks to that inner voice, the part of us that wonders if the world might never be the same again. As you continue watching, you'll notice the subtle warnings hidden between the lines, patterns that hint at something bigger beneath the surface. We live in a world ruled by information, yet often truth gets drowned in noise. But here, in this story, we strip away the distractions. We focus on facts, eyewitness accounts, and chilling clues that paint a picture of a world on the brink of change. It's a story fueled by powerful emotions: fear, hope, confusion, and above all, resilience. What makes this all more compelling is the man at the center of it, someone who has walked the line between godlike and human, who carries the weight of the universe on his shoulders, yet now seems broken in ways even he might not fully understand. How do you reclaim your true self after death? Can power alone protect a person from becoming lost to darkness? And what sacrifices will be demanded from those brave enough to stand beside him or to oppose him? These are the questions that will shape everything you're about to see. But beware, There are forces at work trying to silence the truth, to rewrite the narrative, to bury what's really happening under layers of deception. That's why your attention matters now more than ever. This is your invitation to witness the unraveling, to confront the mystery head-on, and to challenge your assumptions about what happens when life and death collide. Now, as we dig deeper, you'll meet the key figures entwined in this saga. The ones who offer hope, the ones who cast doubt, and the shadows who lurk just beyond the light. There are no easy answers, no heroes without flaws. This story is human at its core, filled with conflict, emotion, and the struggle to hold on when everything feels like it's slipping away. You will feel their fears and hopes, their moment of clarity and despair, and most of all, the relentless search for truth in an unstable world. You might ask yourself why a story like this matters to the everyday person. The answer is simple. It's because this saga is bigger than one man. It's a reflection of our own insecurities about mortality, about trust, about the unknown forces that shape our lives beyond what we see. It's a story that resonates with anyone who has ever faced fear, loss, or questions about what lies beyond the veil. So, as you sit there watching, know this. You are part of something much larger. Your curiosity, your willingness to seek answers, and your openness to confronting uncomfortable truths will be the guiding light through these dark times. What unfolds will challenge you emotionally, intellectually, and perhaps even spiritually. By the end of this video, you will understand the full scope of what happened when Dr. Stephen Strange returned from the dead, why the world is reacting in ways no one predicted, and what might lie ahead as the true consequences begin to reveal themselves. But the truth isn't straightforward. It is layered, complex, and at times terrifying. And before that final revelation, you will be left with questions more twisting and chilling than you ever expected. Before we move forward, I want you to think about the idea of resurrection itself. Not as a simple return, but as a transformation, a cross into unknown territories that can change anything and anyone. What we will explore today is not merely a story of life after death. It's a story about what comes afterward, when the familiar gives way to something irrevocably alien and the line between savior and threat blurs beyond recognition. Before we move forward, I want you to think about the idea of resurrection itself. Not as a simple return, but as a transformation, a crossing through unknown territories that can change anything and anyone. What we will explore today is not merely a story of life after death. It's a story about what comes afterward, when a familiar gives way to something irrevocably alien, and the line between savior and threat blurs beyond recognition. And so, as we stand together at the edge of this mystery, I urge you to stay attentive, to open your mind, and to trust the journey ahead. Because once we step into the shadows of this story, there's no turning back, and the world may never be the same again. Here, in the next moments, your adventure will begin. The man who once held the balance of worlds in his hands has returned, but with a darkness that threatens to undo everything. The question remains, who has he become? And more importantly, what does that mean for all of us? Stay with me, because the answers you seek are just beyond the horizon, but the journey there will test everything we believe. This story doesn't end here. It's only just begun. Since his unexpected return, whispers have rippled through the cities and small towns alike, the kind of whispers that feel like distant echoes of a world once familiar, but now inexplicably changed. People close to Dr. Stephen Strange have described a man who is both the same and yet fundamentally altered, as that he carries a weight invisible to the naked eye, a shadow trailing every step he takes. In the months before his disappearance, Strange was known not just for his mystical prowess, but also for the subtle and fragile alliances he built in the hidden corners of the world, a network of friends, skeptics, and rivals intertwined in a delicate dance of trust and suspicion. Among these individuals are those who once stood at his side, offering counsel and support, and others whose motivations have always been shrouded in ambiguity. Those relationships are where the story begins to twist, for it was within these bonds that the first hint of strain and doubt appeared, glimmers of an unseen fracture that foreshadowed the darkness to come. Conversations with close confidants revealed that Strange had been wrestling privately with forces unlike anything he had faced before, enigmatic adversaries that weren't just physical threats but psychological labyrinths designed to erode his certainty and resolve. Yet, almost no one expected what unfolded next. The final events leading up to his disappearance were marked by a crescendo of strange sightings and inexplicable occurrences. Some say they saw a flicker of him bending time in ways that pushed the limits of his own understanding. Others spoke of moments when reality seemed to bend and twist around him as if reacting to an unseen presence. The clues pile up, but they are maddeningly contradictory, drawing us deeper into a maze where it's impossible to tell friend from foe, truth from illusion. One name that emerged repeatedly in shadowed whispers was someone long suspected of harboring hidden agendas, a figure whose appearance and strange life coincided with the growing unease surrounding him. This person's loyalties remain unclear, shifting like the shadows themselves, sometimes aligning with strange goals, other times working quietly behind the scenes to disrupt them. These dualities created tension that few outsiders could have ever detected, and as questions mount, the picture of Strange's last days becomes more tangled rather than clearer. Simultaneously, the media and public opinion swirled in confusion. Headlines oscillated wildly, from declarations of miraculous comeback to dark speculations about corruption and possession. Social media became a battleground where supporter and skeptic clashed with equal fervor, many sharing videos and images that both thrilled and unsettled viewers. Among the most chilling were reports of inexplicable phenomena, strange energy pulses, distortions in time and space, and fleeting glimpses of figure who seemed almost a shadow of the man once known as a sorcerer supreme. Adding to the mystery were subtle but pervasive changes noticed in the world around him, shocking shifts in weather patterns, sudden power outages, and an eerie silence that settled in places he frequented. It was as if his return had fractured more than just his own existence. Rumors hinted at portals opening unexpectedly, glimpses of otherworldly landscapes merging with the familiar world, and unexplained disappearances near certain locations tied to strange history. Yet every lead dug up seemed dissolved into new mysteries. Red herrings expertly placed to mislead and confuse. In sharing these stories and theories, those close to Strange often fell into two camps. One that clung to hope, believing that beneath the surface turmoil, their friend remained intact and would one day reclaim his full self, and another, haunted by fear, suspecting that true danger now walked among them, disguised by a familiar face but driven by darker impulses. The stakes rise for those caught in this web because it's not just about one man anymore. It's about what his return means for everyone, whether they realize it or not. Among the most intriguing pieces of evidence are the cryptic messages discovered shortly after Strange reappeared. Phrases etched in ancient languages, symbols that pulse with a life of their own, and warnings that hint at an imminent upheaval. These have become the focal point for researchers and mystics alike who attempt to decode their true meaning, though interpretations diverge wildly. Some believe these messages are calls for help. Others think they mark a hostile takeover of the fabric of reality, and still others fear they are veiled threats from unseen and unfathomable enemies. Amid this swirling mystery, distrust grows not only for outside forces, but also within Strange's inner circle. Allies question each other's intentions. Secrets are kept even from those who once seemed closest, and every conversation is tinged with suspicion. There are moments where the line between protector and saboteur blurs, making it harder for anyone to know where the truth truly lies. Throughout it all, one fact remains stubbornly clear. No one can walk away unaffected. What deepens the intrigue are the unexplained absences and strange behaviors of those who once worked alongside Strange. Their sudden disappearances without warning, cryptic warnings sent through secure channels, and the reluctant refusal of some to speak publicly. These disappearances serve as grim reminders that danger lurks not just in the mysteries of magic, but in the very real threats posed by those who wish to keep the shadows hidden. Each vanished individual becomes a ghost in the ongoing puzzle, leaving behind clues that only deepen the questions about what is truly at stake. As the world watches with a mixture of fascination and dread, the lines between myth and reality, friend and enemy, continue to blur. Every new revelation pushes the story forward, but also spirals deeper into uncertainty. No timeline fits neatly. No explanation satisfies completely. Instead, we are drawn into a narrative of tension, mistrust, and a continual search for meaning amid chaos. Through it all, the central figure remains enigmatic and changed. The man who returned is no longer simply a hero or a legend. He is a symbol of conflict itself, between light and shadow, power and vulnerability, knowledge and mystery. And while his struggle to reclaim himself is ongoing, the wider world watches anxiously, realizing that the consequences could echo far beyond what anyone imagined. As you consider all these strands, realize that this story is about more than magic or resurrection. It's about the cracks we all face in our own realities, about questions that refuse to be silenced, and the courage it takes to stare into the unknown. It's about what happens when trust is tested, whether in ourselves, those we hold dear, or the very universe we inhabit. What you've heard so far is only the beginning. The deeper truth lies just beneath the surface, waiting to be uncovered. But beware, every answer brings new challenges, every clue deeper shadows. The question is no longer just how or why Dr. Stephen Strange returned. It's about what he has become and whether the world will survive the consequences. Stay close, because the next layers of this mystery will reveal more than you ever expected, and the forces at play are far from finished. As if the enigmatic return of Dr. Stephen Strange wasn't enough to shake the foundation of the known world, the path toward uncovering the truth has grown increasingly treacherous, winding through a labyrinth of unseen forces and deliberate obfuscation. Those first clues, the cryptic symbols, eyewitness accounts, strange phenomena, are slipping away one by one, much like sand through impatient fingers. Key pieces of evidence that once promised to illuminate the shadows have mysteriously vanished, erased from the record, or hidden before they could be properly examined. Official reports go missing, digital footprints suddenly vanish from cyberspace, and sources who once spoke with cautious confidence now fall silent, as if swallowed by an invisible void. The very fabric of investigation seems to unravel, with every new step taken toward understanding what truly happened to the man who defied death. Alongside these vanishing threads, darker warnings have begun to emerge, whispered in hushed tones among those brave enough to listen. Stop digging. A chilling message reads on an encrypted channel, followed by a silence so heavy it feels like a physical weight pressing down on anyone attempting to piece the mystery together. Attempts to question those closest to Strange have been met with evasion, cold stares, or worse, a light but unmistakable hint of menace that brooks no further inquiry. The world is telling those involved that some truths are better left buried, yet the very human compulsion to seek answers burns fiercer when threatened. For every individual who hesitates, another steps forward, compelled by the gravity of the unfolding enigma, even if it means stepping into danger. The tension escalates further when a long-hidden past betrayal surfaces, painting the story in shades darker than previously imagined. Rumors swirl of a confidant once considered trustworthy who may have played a pivotal role in the circumstances leading up to Strange's disappearance. A betrayal not a body but a trust, a secret kept so deeply it was nearly forgotten, now claws its way into the light, revealing fractures in relationships once believed unbreakable. The revelation shakes those nearby, forcing questions about loyalty, intentions, and the blurred lines between friend and foe. Trust has never been more fragile. Even more confounding is the arrival of a suspicious new ally, someone who offers aid and insights just when despair threatens to take hold. Their presence is a double-edged sword. On one hand, this figure brings resources, knowledge, and a familiarity that seems to stem from a shared past. On the other hand, their actions and words often hint at hidden motives, creating more questions than answers. Is this person a genuine supporter on the path to truth, or a carefully placed piece in a larger, more sinister game? Every interaction feels loaded with unspoken intentions, every gesture a test of patience and trust. Navigating these interpersonal minefields adds layers of complexity, making it nearly impossible to discern what's real, what's manipulated, and what's downright dangerous. As this web tightens, the consequences ripple outward. For everyone connected to man who returned from death, life becomes a tightrope walk between revelation and ruin. Allies become suspects, familiar places turn alien, and the very nature of reality seems to warp under the strain of secrets too powerful to bear. The world watches, caught between fear and fascination, as events accelerate with momentum that refuses to be stalled. The strange happenings, unexpected power fluctuations, unexplained disappearances, and chilling shifts in the environment are no longer isolated incidents. They suggest a larger force in play, a conspiracy threaded to the fabric of reality itself. Yet, Those who might expose or contain this force are hindered at every turn, beset not only by external threats, but by internal doubts and betrayals. The lines between protector and enemy blur so thoroughly that few feel safe in their roles. In this climate of uncertainty, the man at the center remains equally enigmatic. His attempts to reconnect with the world, to regain control over dwindling powers, are marred by confusion and moments of uncharacteristic vulnerability. The shadows he carries aren't just external. There's an internal battle raging between the self he once was, the self he became, and the self forced upon him by forces beyond comprehension. Yet despite these challenges, he pushes forward, guided by a stubborn will to reclaim agency, even as that will is tested and strained with every passing day. The story stakes have never felt higher. It's no longer only about one man's journey, but about what his existence now represents. A nexus of power, fear, hope, and darkness. What unfolds next will test every relationship, every conviction, and every boundary between life and death. What you're witnessing is not just a saga of magic or resurrection. It's a profound exploration of trust and betrayal in a world on the edge. The unfolding twists are a reminder that sometimes the greatest obstacles come from those closest to us. And just when it feels like some answers might finally break through, the labyrinth closes in tighter, and the next revelation threatens to upend everything once again. Stay alert, because this story is far from over, and the next chapter promises to deepen the shadows even more. Just as the tangled threads of Dr. Stephen Strange's personal battles and shadow betrayals begin to reveal themselves, another layer of complexity begins to weave itself into the fabric of this ever-deepening mystery, an unexpected secondary storyline that threatens to overshadow everything already uncovered. While Strange wrestles with forces threatening his very identity, someone close to him, someone tied to his past yet living under far less public scrutiny, receives a cryptic message, an eerie counterpart to warnings that have silenced others. This message hints that the shadow haunting Strange is not an isolated curse, but part of a much wider threat. Suddenly, the stage expands, revealing that the dangerous forces at work stretch farther and involve more unsuspecting players than anyone could have imagined. What follows is a cascade of unsettling discoveries, a new piece of evidence, once thought to solidify the timeline of Strange's mysterious return, surfaces only to contradict everything believed before. It shakes the ground beneath those scholars, mystics, and investigators who had painstakingly pieced together shards of truth, exposing fissures in their understanding. What they had trusted as fact flickers into doubt, leaving room for uncertainty that spreads like wildfire. Right here, in the heart of the mystery, the narrative splits. It refuses to be narrowed down to simple explanations. Instead, it forces characters and viewers alike to question every assumption, to re-examine motives with a fresh, wary eye. The stakes escalate rapidly. The people once seen as protectors and allies in Strange orbit start to appear less certain, sometimes actively contradictory in their statements and actions. Even those who wield the most power and influence are not immune to suspicion. The delicate balance of trust that held the fragile network together begins to fracture. Is this division the natural result of chaos, or is it being driven deliberately by unseen hands seeking to exploit this moment of weakness? Questions multiply, and every answer uncovers more uncertainty. As alliances shift, viewers find themselves drawn into a web that challenges their perceptions. Characters once perceived as innocent bystanders reveal hidden agendas. Subtle manipulations come to light, and loyalties are tested as new secrets surge from the depths. Who truly stands with Strange, and who might be concealing intentions darker than anyone anticipated? Each interaction becomes fraught with tension, reminding us that in a story this complex, no one can be taken at face value. Amid the storm, the emotional weight is palpable. The people closest to Strange face impossible dilemmas, whether to act or stay silent, whether to trust a stranger or protect their own. Their struggles offer a haunting mirror to the audience, illustrating the human cost of secrets and the real dangers of mistrust. Watching them, it becomes painfully clear that this isn't just an epic struggle between otherworldly forces. It is a deeply personal conflict with reverberations that ripple into the very core of human experience. Meanwhile, the shadow over the world grows heavier. Reports of unexplained events continue to pour in, fueling a growing sense of urgency and dread. The balance of power, once stable in the hands of familiar figures, now teeters precariously. Speculation explodes online and beyond, with conspiracy theories fluttering like wildfire, each more desperate or frightening than the last. Social media buzzes with hashtags and live streams searching for answers, but the truth remains elusive, deliberately obscured by layers of false leads and carefully cultivated confusion. It's a digital storm where information and misinformation collide, and the real question becomes not what is true, but what anyone is willing to believe. International powers and secret organizations, previously content to observe from the shadows, begin sending their agents into fray, their motives inscrutable and their influence far-reaching. The fight is no longer contained within one individual's fate. It's a battleground for control of reality itself. And as the world watches, sometimes in fear, sometimes in fascination, the lines between friend, enemy, and spectator blur beyond distinction. Every move, every word, every alliance could tip the scales with irreversible consequences. This secondary storyline crystallizes a grim truth. The mystery surrounding Doctor Strange's return is a microcosm of a far larger conflict, one that threatens to engulf society, belief, and the very understanding of existence. The intricate dance of power, deception, and survival unfolds with relentless intensity, forcing viewers and characters alike to weigh every choice carefully. There are no bystanders here. Everyone is caught in the tide. You as a viewer are not simply watching a tale of magic or myth. You are witnessing a high-stakes clash between forces that test the limits of trust and endurance. The true antagonists remain veiled, operating through manipulated truths and fractured memories. The journey ahead is fraught with peril, surprises, and betrayals that no one could have foreseen. And just when the threads seem impossible to untangle, the story pulls you further into a world where nothing is as it appears, and the question of who to believe becomes as vital as the search for truth itself. Stakes continue to rise, alliances shift like sand, and the future becomes more uncertain with every passing moment. The battle for understanding is more urgent than ever. The next chapters promise to peel back more layers, revealing deeper secrets and more dangerous forces at work. No character is safe, no theory secure, and no conclusion final. Prepare yourself, because as the story unfolds, the shadow over Doctor Strange's return grows darker, and with it, the world's fate hangs ever more precariously in the balance. Darkness isn't always loud. Sometimes it creeps in with quiet footsteps and the softest whispers, but never truly leaves your side. For Dr. Stephen Strange, this darkness began to invade in unexpected ways as the pressure to uncover the truth intensified. Shadows lengthened, not only in the places he sought answers, but also in his own instincts. The man who once commanded mystical forces now found himself watching his back, wary of every glance, every movement. A feeling of being hunted settled deep in his bones, a subtle and unshakable paranoia that grew with every passing hour. It started with the small things, the sensation of eyes on him when no one was visibly there, the faint but undeniable presence of someone moving just beyond his peripheral vision. He would catch fleeting reflections of figures slipping into doorways, or hear the tip of a whispered warning just before silence swallowed the moment. Friends would suddenly avoid his gaze or disappear from conversations without explanation, leaving him alone with questions that burned hotter than ever. Someone close to him, someone he trusted deeply, vanished without a trace, erased from his world in a way that sent cold tremors through his heart. The silence left behind screamed louder than any words ever could. Direct threats followed, ominous, precise, delivered through channels both mundane and mystical. A note slipped beneath his door, scrawled with chilling message: "Stop or suffer the consequences." Strange's once confident grasp on his powers and knowledge was tested as never before. The threat wasn't just to his mission, but to his very existence, forcing him into a corner where every step forward felt like a descent into deeper uncertainty and danger. The walls closed in, not only around him, but around everyone who still dared to stand beside him. Emotionally, the strain was relentless. Each moment brought a tidal wave of fear, compounded by the crushing weight of responsibility. How could he protect those he cared about if he himself was under siege? Each night held haunted dreams, visions of shadowy figures and distorted realities, places where the line between the living and the dead blurred with terrifying clarity. His mind wrestled with memories that felt both genuine and warped, battling the dread that his own recollections might betray him. The once fierce master of mysticism found himself grappling with vulnerability on a scale he had never imagined possible. Yet even in the depths of growing paranoia, flickers of hope shimmered. Strange resilience, the very core of who he was, fueled an unwavering determination to push through. He understood that giving in to fear would only hasten the downfall he sought to prevent. Behind every threat lay a purpose, and behind every shadow lurked a truth waiting to be uncovered. But the cause of this relentless pursuit was painfully clear. A life lived on the edge, fractured relationships, and a trust so fragile it shattered at the slightest impact. The world outside seemed oblivious to the torrent of peril swirling around him. People went about their daily lives unaware that forces rippling from strange return were already reshaping reality itself. The tension between normalcy and nightmare grew taut, breaking through in sudden, inexplicable bursts, moments when reality faltered and revealed its fragile underpinnings. These cracks unsettled not only the supernatural community, but also the ordinary people caught in the crossfire of a battle few understood. In the midst of this escalating pressure, Strange grappled with seismic questions about identity and destiny. Was he still the man who had mastered time and space, or had death fractured his soul beyond repair? Was the darkness now shadowing his every move the result of some cosmic imbalance or a personal failing? Every day brought new doubts, new fears, each one a test of his willpower and conviction. The stakes weren't just cosmic, they were deeply, painfully human. He found himself isolated, surrounded by suspects and allies alike, unsure of who to trust and terrified of making a misstep that could cost everything. Conversations became fraught with unspoken suspicion. Acts of kindness were viewed with suspicion. Caution replaced familiarity. The psychological pressure mounted until it was nearly unbearable, threatening to break the man who had once embraced impossible odds without hesitation. Yet, amid the chaos, Strange refused to surrender. Every threat, every loss, every shadow pushed him deeper into the mystery, drawing him closer to a truth that was as terrifying as it was vital. The sense of urgency became a relentless drumbeat beneath his every action, guiding and haunting him in equal measure. The line between hunter and hunted blurred as he took increasingly desperate measures to protect himself and those he loved. For the viewers following this unfolding drama, the tension is palpable. The man who once held reality's threads intact now fights not only external enemies, but internal demons, an emotional maelstrom of fear, hope, paranoia, and determination. It's a reminder that even those who seem invincible are vulnerable, that courage often comes wrapped in layers of fear, and that the price of seeking truth can be heartbreakingly high. As the shadows grow and the threats escalate, the world waits on a knife's edge. The next steps will be critical, revealing not only who is behind the darkness, but also exposing the true cost of defiance. The question lingers: will Dr. Stephen Strange survive the forces arrayed against him, or will the darkness consume everything he once fought to protect? The story is far from over, and if anything, it's about to get even darker. Just when the weight of the shadows seemed unbearable and the threads of reality twisted tighter around Dr. Stephen Strange's quest, a revelation emerges that shatters everything the world thought it knew. A truth so startling, so fundamentally game-changing, it forces everyone watching, scholars, allies, skeptics, and even those who feared his return, to question every assumption and reconsider the entire story. The mystery that once seemed linear and filled with straightforward antagonists reveals itself as a complex maze of deception, hidden agendas, and truths concealed in plain sight. Amid a critical moment of tension, an unexpected archive surfaces, an ancient manuscript, encrypted far beyond mere mortal understanding. This document was overlooked for decades, buried in the dusty catacombs of forbidden knowledge, and dismissed as myth. Yet, buried within its pages is a hidden clue that explains not only the nature of Strange's return, but implicates those thought to be his staunchest allies. This unexpected insight exposes a covert conspiracy that dates back years, one that entwines politics, cosmic powers, and personal greed in intricate and dangerous dance. Suddenly, trust fractures beyond repair. Even more shocking is a confession of a figure once considered a pillar of reliability. A trusted partner steps forward with revelations that upend the narrative entirely. Their words unravel the carefully constructed story of salvation and reveal manipulation at levels no one anticipated. What seemed like protection was, in fact, a calculated intervention designed to harness the mysterious power Strange attained in his time beyond death. The revelation leaves audiences breathless. As friends turn into masters of deceit, motives twisted into shadows themselves. This betrayal also highlights a darker truth lurking beneath the surface. Strange's resurrection was never simply an act of will or cosmic favor, but part of an elaborate design orchestrated by forces beyond mortal comprehension. Someone else pulled strings from behind the veil, controlling pieces on a board no one else could see. That realization shifts the stakes from a man's personal redemption to a battleground of unimaginable scale where free will is tested against manipulation, and the fate of entire worlds hangs precariously. Complicating matters further, another unexpected figure emerges from the depths, a wild card whose identity confounds everyone involved. Their arrival is shrouded in mystery, but carries undeniable weight. This new player brings truths that clash violently with what others thought they understood, adding uncharted dimensions to the unfolding drama. Their motives appear murky, sometimes aligned with those opposing Strange, sometimes offering dangerous aid, yet never revealing the full picture. The audience is left in suspense, forced to reconsider loyalties and anticipate moves from this unpredictable factor. This plot twist also redefines the central themes. The idea of resurrection is no longer a miraculous hope, but a double-edged sword, fraught with peril and secrecy. What seemed to be power reclaimed is revealed as a dangerous currency in a game played by gods and mortals alike. The line between savior and pawn dissolves, and viewers feel the raw tension of a world where trust is a fragile, fleeting treasure and deception the deadly currency of survival. Through this upheaval, the emotional core of the story deepens. The man who returned wrestles not only with enemies outside, but also with a harrowing realization that those he once believed in have shaped his fate in ways that strip away his agency. It's a brutal reckoning that forces him to confront uncomfortable truths about himself, the cost of power, and the lengths to which those closest to him will go to achieve their desires. This emotional turmoil resonates with any viewer who has faced betrayal or fought to reclaim control of their own story. For the audience tracking the story, this twist transforms passive watchers into active participants, questioning motives, reevaluating alliances, and anticipating every next move with renewed intensity. The careful pacing, layered clues, and emerging conflicts craft a rich tapestry that neither feels predictable nor scripted, but lie with a pulse of real human struggle amid supernatural chaos. As the story charges forward, every element is infused with new meaning. The stakes climb higher, shadows grow darker, and the ominous forces revealed threaten not just one man or a single fate, but the very fabric of reality. The audience is left breathless at the precipice of revelation, eager but wary of what lies ahead. Trust is a shattered mirror, and the reflections no longer match the faces once known. And just when it seems this twisting path has no end, the unexpected figure's next move promises yet another shock. One that will force everyone to confront the possibility that the greatest truth has still been hidden, locked away in the darkest corners of fate. The story refuses to settle, its momentum relentless, and its mysteries deeper than ever. Stay close. The next chapter will challenge everything you have believed and hold you on the edge of your seat until the very last moment. Now, facing impossible choices, Dr. Stephen Strange stands at a crossroads where every decision carries immense weight, not just for himself, but for everyone around him. The lines between friend and foe blur beyond recognition, and the price of truth becomes heartbreakingly clear. He is confronted by someone once dear, now revealed to be deeply entangled in the web of deception surrounding him. This confrontation is raw and intense, forcing Strange to wrestle with betrayal and the painful necessity of exposing secrets that could tear apart the fragile alliances he needs to survive. The ultimatum is brutal. Sacrifice his own safety to reveal the truth or live with the consequences of silence, a choice no one should ever have to make, but one he cannot escape. Emotional turmoil floods through him as he weighs loyalty against justice, fear against courage, and hope against despair. Every moment feels fragile, charged with tension, as he navigates a path riddled with shadows and hidden dangers. His resolve is tested like never before, but within this crucible, his true strength begins to shine. not just as a master of mystical arts, but as a deeply human figure fighting for redemption, connection, and the future itself. The struggle is not just external. It is an internal battle to hold on to identity and purpose when everything familiar twists into uncertainty. As the story reaches its final crescendo, the true scale of conspiracy is revealed, exposing a network far larger and more dangerous than anyone anticipated. Allies turn into adversaries, and the very fabric of reality trembles under the weight of choices made and secrets kept. The conflict accelerates toward a confrontation that is both psychological and supernatural, culminating in a showdown where every shard of hope and fear collide. It is a fight that forces Strange to confront not only his enemies but also the darkness within himself, shaping the destiny of both the mystical worlds and the ordinary one. Yet, despite the intensity and chaos, the story finds its resolution, not in simple victories, but in the enduring strength of resilience and the fragile possibility of peace. Dr. Strange manages to reclaim a semblance of control, forging a path forward amid the ruins, carrying the scars of battle but also the lessons of struggle. Loose ends remain. Questions linger. Shadows persist. But there is a sense of closure balanced with an open horizon, inviting viewers to reflect on profound themes of trust, sacrifice, and identity. The world may never be quite the same, but in those changes lies a chance for renewal. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories of inner strength and resilience. Until next time, stay strong, stay brave, and never forget your worth.